All right, it's time to go over what I like to call the undie fundies. All right, so we've already established the fact that Pokemon cards are an asset class, but now the question is, how do you ride the wave and know what to buy for the spike? Now, obviously, the best thing you can do is buy sealed products and put it somewhere and forget about it. But what if you want to have a little bit of fun and see that these cards are spiking, you want to get in on it? Some of these things are going up like 3 times in value over the course of a couple months. But the question is why? And today we're going to try to answer that. We're going to go through the underlying fundamentals of what makes certain cards surge. And I'm also going to use historical examples from the past year. I'm going to give you 5 things to look out for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, obviously, there will be some outliers to this, and these are not hard and fast rules, but this is kind of a framework for things that you can trust to count on, or count on to trust. So if you want to play the market and plant your money somewhere for a few months hoping it'll pan out, let's see if you can follow these rules and make it work for you. Keep in mind, all of this is for modern sets, meaning stuff that has come out in the last Scarlet and Violet era, or before slightly. We are not talking about vintage. That's not to say vintage cards are not a valuable place to park your money, but only one of the fundamentals we will be talking about actually applies to them. Anyway, with that, let's get started. Number 1, the most boring one, fan favorites. That means things like your starter Pokemon from 151, or the mythical beasts like Lugia, Moltres, Mewtwo, obviously, Gengar, Dragonite, Pikachu, Evolutions. Anytime a set comes out that's modern that has those cards in them, you should probably park some money in those because they will almost certainly go up. There's always ways to make money on a Charizard. Always. Now, obviously, now that we got the boring one out of the way, let's go to the ones that you can actually make money on. Number 2, artist-driven heat. Now, everybody right now is talking about the Seismitoad that was illustrated by the same guy who did the Magikarp and the Giratina, Shinji Kanda. Shinji Kanda don't want no. But I think a much better example to look for is the Drowsy that happened earlier this year. Now that one spiked, and it was drawn by Tomokazu Komiya. But what we can also see is that at the same time, the Baxcalibur jumped, which means that even though a rising tide lifted a Drowsy, it took with it a similar card made by the same artist. And that's because collectors follow illustrators as if they're fashion designers. Guys like Shinji have a very loyal following, but there's also OGs like Mitsushiro Arita. And that's the guy who not only did the OG Charizard from the base set, but in the redone 151 with the cute Mew on the box, he actually did the whole Squirtle line, which is interesting to go start off from the Zard and end up on the Squirtle. Now, a fun fact here is that the Excadrill on the latest Black Bolt set that everybody's talking about the Seismitoad on, the Seismitoad is the 4th most valuable card on that set. But the Excadrill is illustrated by Mitsushiro, the guy who did the Charizard in the 151 Blastoise. I'm just saying. All right, number 3 is distribution weirdness, regional exclusivity, just pretty much hard to find cards. Over the years, Pokemon has done a lot of weird collaborations with coffee shops, airlines, pretty much anything that you can think of. And on top of that, sometimes they'll re-release their cards with a sticker. Sometimes that sticker makes a card worth more, sometimes it makes it worth less. There's no hard and fast rules to this, but just know that the harder it is to find a card, the more it's going to be worth. For example, the NA promo Moltres, fucking beautiful card, buddy. Or the felt hat Pikachu, which was given away as part of a museum opening and is one of the most graded cards of all time. Pretty much anything that has scarcity and a story is going to eventually be a future grail. So invest accordingly, or, enter the contest yourself and win a very limited edition card that you can then go on to grade. Speaking of which, reason number 4, difficulty grading a card. Now, this is the one that only applies to the vintage cards, like I said before. But let's take a look at the Red Cheek Pikachu value, okay? This thing spiked up because of how expensive it is in a 10, because of how rare it is to get that card graded well, because of some terrible run they had with that collection that resulted in a lot of cards being off-center. Cards that are notoriously hard to grade, things that are off-center or have hollow bleed or have black border chipping, creates a price cliff between a raw card and a PSA 10, and that's where you want to be. If you see a card where a 10 is disproportionately high, that's a tell. Buy a bunch and submit them for grading. Also, keep an eye on low population 10s, which eBay now helpfully tracks in the listing. All right, number 5 is all about timing the set cycles. Right now, the Charizard from the Obsidian Flames is going crazy, due in part to the fact that the new set was announced, wasn't announced, but it was revealed. And that set primarily focuses on Mega Charizards. Now, we knew this set was coming out 6 months ago, and it's largely driven by the fact that the Pokemon game was announced, and that's going to feature a lot more Mega Evolutions. So now the Pokemon cards are going to be promoting the Mega Evolutions, which leads us to the Charizard, which makes the other Charizard more valuable. It is quite a lot to get into, and it's hard to kind of track it passively, which is why it helps to have a genuine interest in at least one portion of the hobby if you intend to make money off it. Unless the portion of that hobby is Pokemon Go, which is directly tied in no way to the card game, as I've come to find out. But Pokemon featured in new games, anime arcs, or anniversary sets pump. You can find out well ahead of time using apps and sites like PokeBeach. Like I said, we knew this was coming 6 months ago. I made a little YouTube short about it. That's the fundamentals. Listen, picking the right Pokemon cards is not about luck. It's about studying the hype cycles, looking at the art quirks, and tracking the distribution almost as if you're looking at a stock chart. The difference is that these stocks have fucking Japanese cartoon animals on them. So remember, you're not just buying cardboard, you're buying culture. You got to do it smart. And eventually, you'll be able to turn your binder into a portfolio. All right, Gary Grindset, you know